Hello, my name is Stephen Burnett and I'd like to tell you about my visit to the Morgan car factory, which is almost like walking through a multi-decade human endeavor. And by the way, they also build some wonderful atmospheric motor cars. The Morgan factory is located in the small town of Malvern, Worcestershire. It's not too far from Stratford-on-Avon, surrounded by those beautiful, wonderful Malvern hills and typically bucolic English countryside. They still make cars here by hand, which means that they make handmade cars. They're made by human hands and not by robots. There are no moving assembly lines, no computerized Harry Potter style wizardry. They still drink tea in the works canteen, for heaven's sakes, and the workers actually talk to one another, and they build one hell of a car. And a great many Morgans are purposely built with only 3 wheels. How about that? I don't own a Morgan, but I equate Morgan ownership of this treasured and traditional car with owning a handcrafted Rolex watch, maybe a set of Bang & Olufsen speakers, a Canadian Goose Down jacket, or a treasured piece of art. Morgan owners are a discerning lot and they know what tradition looks like. Morgan enthusiasts around the world are also a tight-knit community. They know a great deal about these exclusive cars. But for those of you who have not yet been inducted into the Morgan family, this story is for you. Think engineering back to the future. The Morgan Car Company was formed in 1909, shortly before the start of the World War, by an actual Mr. Morgan who designed his first car with 3 wheels. In 1936, his thinking matured a little bit while he created his first open 4-wheel, 4-seater, beautiful sports car. Let's just for a moment reflect on what was happening in the world of 1909 when Mr. Morgan built his first car. Well, Shackleton located the South Pole. Bakelite, which is a thermoplastic, was first invented in Yonkers, New York. Shortwave radio waves were first transmitted in Denmark. The city of Tel Aviv was founded. Also, the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, which is now Shell Oil, founded in 1909. Louis Blériot flew across the English Channel. The US Army purchased its first Wright Brothers aircraft, and my wife will be delighted to say the Montreal Canadiens were founded. as we're focusing on cars, I should mention that the Indianapolis Speedway was founded on the same year. The core manufacturing ethic of this traditional British firm has remained unchanged since 1909 in terms of their approach to car design and their use of wood and leather, augmented with some modern innovations such as aluminum and, of course, space age bonding techniques. Fourth generation descendants of the Morgan family still have an interest in the firm through their shareholding in the enterprise. But recently a significant investment has been timely made in the Morgan company by the firm of Industriale, which has been very timely for the company. This pan-European organization is highly diversified and has the depth to ensure the Morgan Car Company can go into the future with great confidence. I suspect their modest production numbers and the challenges of running a relatively small enterprise has attracted this type of an investment. Every Morgan is built by direct human endeavor using locally sourced ash, quality aluminum, and of course fine leather. Each car carries its own uniqueness, which emerges because of the focus and the special skill sets of their employees. There is no evidence of an automated mass-market assembly line here, and Morgan used modern planning techniques, laser measurements, and has access to modern resources to ensure that every car is built to the highest standard. The Morgan handcrafted organization builds close to 800 cars a year. These include the iconic three-wheel version, the Morgan Plus 4, and of course the Morgan Plus 6. And at one time Morgan built this magnificent Morgan Plus 8 seen here in Vancouver, owned by Stephen Blake. It's quite a rare car in absolutely beautiful condition and is one of the most desirable of all Morgans in my view, and one that I would dearly love to add to my collection. It's also worthwhile focusing on their iconic three-wheel car, which was reintroduced in about 2011 after a long absence on the production floor. Since that renaissance, the firm has built over 2,000 of these iconic and highly sought-after vehicles for clients around the globe. A doctor could prescribe a visit to the Morgan factory, maybe as a cure for our addiction caused by mass-market processing of so much that we consume. Strolling through their sheds from start to finish is something of a life lesson, which I readily embrace and which may yet be an example which we can apply to our life in general. Now let's get to the actual factory. Morgan Factory is a series of low brick sheds built onto a gentle hill, and it's worthwhile pausing inside the first shed, which is a brick building and has been converted into a beautiful historic museum of their recent and early cars. From here the cars progress strictly downhill because the sheds are built onto a slope where they migrate shed after shed, process after process. The cars are built by human hands and with the human eye calibrating its progress day by day, building cars the way they have always been built at the Morgan Car Factory. What impressed me during my time at the factory was the atmosphere of relaxed seriousness as these vastly experienced craftspeople went about their individual tasks. They definitely know they're creating a special and coveted vehicle for a future owner. And as I strolled from shop to shop, That human focus was replicated at every stage of their build process. The assembly shops were especially interesting for a gearhead like me, having built a car of my own, and I'm marginally acquainted with the multidisciplinary process that conspires to make it all work. These pros were in action, and it was quite humbling, I can tell you. The assembly process of the original Morgans, those with the substantial ash frames, was utterly fascinating. I understand that securing enough high-quality local ash is a challenge nowadays because the wood is classified as a moderately fast-growing tree, taking a decade to reach only 20 feet high. The wood shop that has that earthy smell associated with cut lumber, and I lingered for a while to absorb the wonderful atmosphere. What remains in my mind is the huge 60-year-old curved laminating and binding press, where those signature Morgan-shaped upper rear frames are created. In some respects, that wood press achieves and describes what Morgans are all about, and that is aging gracefully with strength, character, and timeless style. No visit to the Morgan car factory would be complete without spending time understanding their three-wheel sales phenomenon. These Morgan three-wheelers have been described by a whole series of adjectives, which include cute, odd, quirky, seductive, marginal, surprising, and unique, to name only a few. They're built in their own red brick shed by an experienced team which specializes in three-wheel technology. And not that long ago, I watched Richard Hammond on Top Gear put one of these trikes through its paces. And how surprising was that? Hammond certainly opened my eyes to how capable these three-wheelers are, and I've never looked at them in quite the same way since. Take a few minutes and put Morgan three-wheel racing into your browser and be prepared for an evening of great entertainment. several hours walking through the Morgan Car Factory version of Memory Lane, this modern creation of the Aero took some getting used to, although this was one of the most attractive cars I've really ever seen. I kept glancing back at the brick sheds and the three-wheeler backing out for a test spin. The Aero is absolutely gorgeous, with more than a hint of Morgan pedigree in some of its design elements. But to be perfectly honest, I was unsure where my preferences lie, and this occupied my mind during the entire drive back to the hotel. Thank you for taking time to tune into this story for grown-ups. I've enjoyed sharing my Morgan experiences with you, and I hope you found it enjoyable.